Dr. Avijit Datta, PhD researcher, medicine, University of Cambridge, UK, and assistant professor microbiology, Chittagong Veterinary and Animal Science University, gold medalist of Prime Minister Award, and one of the pioneer members of Voice, to enlighten us with his welcoming speech. Sir, please come up on stage.
A very warm welcome to you all, our distinguished guests coming from different backgrounds, from medical science, engineering, researchers of different fields, bankers, lawyers, all the distinguished leading professionals from different fields. We are very glad to have you all here in this evening. Thank you for taking time in your busy schedule to come here and to attend this seminar. So today we are going to attend a very wonderful seminar, as you mentioned here, Science and Spirituality. It's going to be, I guess, the first event of this kind here in Chittagong, Bangladesh. And here we are going to address some important issues of our day-to-day life. So the program will focus on some issues that we have within our system, like the belief system that we have. We believe in existence of God, existence of soul. We believe in the theory of reincarnation and the law of karma. But is it a blind faith or is it a fact? Is there any logical explanation behind this philosophy? So we'll try to appreciate these things from a logical perspective. So, and most importantly, this event is blessed by our speaker, who is a spiritual scientist, His Grace Chaitanya Charan, who is an engineer by profession and leading spiritualist, spreading the message of Bhagavad Gita and Vedic literatures across the world. I was very fortunate to attend 3 of his seminars at Cambridge University. He was speaking to students and faculties of different disciplines at Cambridge. So thank you, sir, for taking time to attend this seminar. So these things are going to be very exciting. Hope you will enjoy the program. Thank you all for taking time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Being spiritual has nothing to do with your beliefs. It's to do with what you feel. Thank you, Dr. Avijit, for enlightening us. All right, without any further ado, let's get this event started. It's an immense honor to invite our key speaker to the stage. Chaitanya Charan, a BTech in Electronics and Telecommunication, is a world-renowned traveling monk speaking at leading corporates like Google, Microsoft, and universities like Harvard, Cambridge. By mastering yoga for decades, he authored 25 books on how spirituality can equip one to achieve life's greatest potential. He travels from America to Australia, sharing his deep insights and inspiring millions. We are very much glad that we are having Prabhu for the first time in Bangladesh. Can we make sound, everyone? In our language, we say, Hari Hari Bol.
Am I audible to everyone? Thank you. Thank you so much for coming today. And let us begin with taking 3 deep breaths. You can close your eyes and try to inhale deeply and then exhale deeply. 1. One more. Let all the stress, distraction, tiredness go out as you exhale, and let the freshness and energy from the world around us that is all alive come in. One last time. A deep breath inwards and then a deep exhalation thereafter. Thank you. So today I will speak on 3 points. I'll be using this whiteboard as for writing some things and drawing some things. So I'll offer a sip of wisdom. When we drink something in a sip, then we gently take a little bit of it. So in the same theme, I'll offer 3 points for reflection, which will also address some of our common questions that we may have. Broadly speaking, there are 2 kinds of people in the world. Some people are wise and some are otherwise. And it's not just that these 2 kinds of people are there in the world. Many times we ourselves oscillate between being wise and otherwise. Especially, say, if we have to give some advice to others. At that time, we are sometimes ourselves surprised at the pearls of wisdom that seem to come out of our mouths. And I say, maybe somebody should record this. Maybe I should write a book. And yet, if we are provoked by something, if somebody angers us, somebody agitates us, at that time we start speaking things. Hey, why did I speak that? Afterwards, if somebody would play a recording of what we spoke in anger, you'd wonder, what is this? How could I have spoken something like this? So, science has explored many of the mysteries of the universe. And what it has found has transformed human society. At the same time, no mystery is as immediately relevant to us as our own inner world, as what goes on inside our inner world. What impels us to do the things that we do? These are questions that come to us when, say, if not we ourselves, but when someone around us, maybe our children, maybe our colleagues, they behave in unexpected ways, in unhealthy ways. It raises the question, what's going on? So Martin Luther King, the American civil rights leader, put his finger on the problem when he said that we have guided missiles and misguided men. We have guided missiles. We have been able to control our outer world to an astonishing degree. And yet, there is something inside us, maybe not inside us as specifically we, but us collectively as humanity, which seems to impel us to act against our best interests. And it is this that we will be trying to explore today. I'll start with briefly my spiritual journey, and then I'd like to ask you, what does spirituality mean to you, before I go into the 3 points of SIP, SIP. So as was mentioned in the introduction, I studied engineering, and throughout my childhood and my youth, I had a lot of faith in the power of education. Education can open new doors for people. Education can enable us to achieve new things, help usher in a better world. And that's why while I was pursuing education, I was also trying to share it with others. When I finished my 10th, I started a free tuition for students who were just going to give the 10th exam, to give them some broad tips. When I was studying my engineering, I joined a social welfare organization where I was a part of that organization which pioneered the education for the underprivileged in the slum areas. And while I was going there, I noticed that the kids were okay, they were interested in studying, but their homes were dysfunctional. There was alcohol abuse, there was domestic violence. And then I started thinking, how much is the education of, say, history or maths or geography going to help them when they are living such in troubled homes? So then we decided to diversify into de-addiction, especially helping people recover from alcoholism. And to a small degree, we were fairly successful. We called some campaigners to talk. We also learned some principles. And then the small section of the slums where we were trying to share, everybody in that locality resolved to give up alcohol. An American thinker, Oscar Wilde, he has stated that giving up smoking is the easiest thing in the world. I have done it over 100 times. So, we give it up, but it doesn't give us up. So this is what unfortunately became the harsh reality that I experienced. That I went to my home for vacations, and when I came back, I found that many of them had relapsed. And why had they relapsed? Because a local politician who was seeking candidature for the municipality elections had brought a truckload of liquor to woo the candidates and had offered it free. And not only the parents, not only the fathers, but not only the parents, but even the kids had started drinking. So that's when I started thinking that if we consider the journey of life through education, we are opening fresh doors. So we open doors through education. But it seems there are some kind of trap doors which open and people fall into those trap doors. So these trap doors are inside us. And these trap doors don't have to be just substance abuse. They can just be, as I discussed, a short temper. They can be being too moody. They can be just being too harsh or impolite or demanding or rude. Basically, we do things which we know we shouldn't be doing, and then they hurt us. So, and I observed this not just in the slum areas where people were less educated, but I observed it among the students in my college also. I was studying in the better colleges in India, and yet I found that the same tendency was there. So that is when I started reading more and more about the inner world. I explored psychology, philosophy, and eventually I came to spirituality. And that's where I came across the Bhagavad Gita. And the Bhagavad Gita, I came across a worldview that helped make sense of the inner world, of human behavior as I was encountering it in me and as I was encountering it in others. And in fact, this was not just a model, but I found that this was strikingly similar to what I had observed in science. The scientific method had something which was so universal and intuitively appealing we postulate a theory, and we then evaluate it through experiments. So I found spirituality was remarkably similar. And that's what inspired me so much eventually that I decided that this is what I would like to study and share. So I will talk about what I learned from the Bhagavad Gita about spirituality and about life in general. But before I go ahead, I'd like to ask you, would any of you like to share what spirituality means to you? Our topic today is science and spirituality. So what does spirituality mean to you? Do we have a mic by any chance? Would anyone like to share?
Thank you. To me, actually, spirituality, I think, to think about the creation of the earth or universe and believe that someone behind the creation. And I think to me, spirituality means going to temple to think to serve the people, to be honest, to be good, to do good work.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's quite enough. Thank you so much. So, two main things you mentioned. Like there is an underlying reality, some kind of divinity, the existence, and then that understanding of the underlying unity inspires us to some kind of virtuous living, where we are service oriented, where we want to do good to our fellow living beings. Thank you. Anything else? Any other thoughts about what spirituality is?
I think spirituality is the way to be situated in our constitutional position.
Okay, that's a good way of putting it. Thank you. Thank you so much. It is a way, we can say, to be who we are, who we really are, what our actual identity is, who we essentially are, how we can become or realize who we are. That is spirituality. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please. We have a mic here.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. It's for me, it's like a beyond materialistic world where I can have a peace of my mind. That's what spirituality means to me.
Oh, thank you. That's well put. That beyond materialism toward peace of mind. We may have a lot of materialistic things, but it doesn't take us much time to realize that a lot of possessions does not necessarily mean a lot of peace. In fact, sometimes the more externals we pursue, the more it seems that peace becomes elusive. It's so, what is it that we can pursue something beyond matter? So that is spiritual. In some ways, the material things in the world are constantly changing. So is there something beyond this changing, something which is unchanging? And if we can hold on to the unchanging, then we can be peaceful. Yes, thank you. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna. Spirituality help us to the real meaning of a life and find out the forces inside us.
Find
out the force.
Find out force inside us. Okay.
Inside us.
So it is, we find at one level meaning in life, and then we also find that there are some greater strength, greater force inside us. There's a lot within us that is untapped, undiscovered, and spirituality helps us discover that. Yes. Thank you. Anyone? Last answer, anyone?
Hare Krishna. I think spirituality means to get the correct answer about who am I, why I am suffering here, and how can I stop this suffering. If there is any God, where He lives, what is our relation with God, and how can I establish my connection with God. Constellation of this syndrome, these questions, actually means Athato Brahma Jigyasa, and this starting, I think, this is the actual spirituality. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So there are life's fundamental questions. Who am I really? Why do I exist? Why does happiness seem to elude me? So questions like these, spirituality is what often people search for to get answers to these. Thank you. So these are all very valid and valuable points. I'll try to integrate them as we move forward in our discussion today. So broadly speaking, spirituality is similar to science. And there are, of course, some significant differences also. But science is the study of matter. And spirituality is the study of what matters. The study of matter and the study of what matters. The study of what is really important in life. What will count actually. Now matter can also count. But is there something more that matters? Like you mentioned that sometimes we may have possessions, but they may not provide us peace. Then what really matters in life? If we have a lot but we lack peace of mind, then maybe possessions they matter, but they don't matter that much. So it is the study of what matters. When the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Arjuna was facing a crisis of what really matters in life. And it was the answer to this question of what matters that was given in the Bhagavad Gita. So, the study of what matters, like I said, science has these two aspects, theory, where some aspects of reality we try to explain by postulating some hypothesis. And then we do some experiments to try to test whether that particular hypothesis is true or not. Similarly, spirituality also has two aspects to it. One is philosophy, which is similar to the theory aspect. And then we have practice. Now within the practice, religion is what also comes in. So actually speaking, the practice aspect of spirituality is similar to the experiment aspect of science. So spirituality is the study of what matters. This means first there is a philosophy, there is a way of looking at the world that is provided within spirituality. And that helps us look at the various aspects of reality, and it tells us what really matters. And then the practice aspect of spirituality helps us do certain activities, certain practices, by which we can evaluate for ourselves. Does this really matter? Does this really make a positive difference in my life? So the study of what matters. Now, through science, we have explored our outer world. And through science itself, one thing that humanity has found is that the world is far more complex, than what it seems to our naked eyes. That when we look at the sky, we might just see an endless expanse of white during the daytime or endless expanse of black at the night. But we understand that the space is filled with astonishing wonders. If we look at the universe at its micro level, we find that even the atoms have a whole universe within them in terms of the subatomic particles. Even the cells within the human body are so complex. So there is much, much more to reality than what meets the eye. So spirituality tells us the same principle, that what matters is much more important than what we see. In fact, if we consider what scientific progress means. Now, when I had gone to Cambridge, as was mentioned in the introduction, that we passed by the same tree where Newton is said to have got his defining insight. The apple fell. Some people say it fell in front of him, some people say it fell on him. Now, when the apple fell on him, imagine if instead of Newton, a monkey had been sitting there. Now, what might the monkey have done? Most likely, just taken the apple and eaten it. But Newton asked the question, hey, what made this apple fall? And that question led to the development of science. So now he came up with the theory of gravity. But if you see, essentially what is happening is, there is a visible phenomena. The visible phenomena was that an apple fell. But from that, he came to the postulation of an invisible principle. So sometimes people say seeing is believing. Well, if you really believe that seeing is believing, then stop using your cell phone. Because the whole cell phone operates based on the concept of the internet, the electromagnetic communication. And the electromagnetic waves are invisible. The internet is invisible. So scientific advancement essentially happens by looking beyond the visible to the invisible. So we move from visible principles to invisible principles. And that is what I'm going to talk about the second part over here. I said I'll take 3 points in terms of the acronym SIP, a sip of wisdom. So spirituality is the study of what matters. And then I is intelligence. So intelligence means that there are things that glitter, things that are visible, and beyond them there are things that matter. So intelligence is the capacity to see beyond what glitters to what matters. Just like in youth, when somebody wants to form a relationship, people often go by externals. You know, how attractive somebody looks or how wealthy somebody looks. And that's an important feature to look at. But if you want to be in a long-term relationship, the looks are important, but the character of the person is much more important. If a person is constantly complaining, if a person is manipulative, if a person is untrustworthy, then however good they may look, they cannot very well be a person with whom we can have a satisfying or sustainable relationship. So basically, if we look at reality, there is the appearance, how things look, that is what often glitters, and beyond that, there is the substance. And intelligence is the capacity to see beyond appearance to substance, to see beyond what glitters to what matters. Science progresses in the same way. Every scientific theory, in fact, is a movement from the visible phenomena to an invisible principle. And that same point is applied in spirituality with respect to the point of philosophy. The word philosophy itself means phili and sophos. Phili is love, sophos is truth. A love for truth. What is the actual nature of reality? And the Bhagavad Gita explains that the same point that there are two layers to reality. There is a material reality, and underlying that there is a spiritual reality. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah. That is the material, it is constantly changing. There's a Greek philosopher, Sophocles, who said that we never step into the same river twice. Because the river is made of flowing water and it constantly keeps changing. So, of the material, there is constant change. Our body is constantly changing. Cells are being born and cells are dying. So, the material is constantly changing. But beyond the material, there is something that is unchanging. And that is the spiritual. That is, within the body, there is a soul which does not change. And this invisible, which is unchanging, can be perceived. But it requires intelligence to perceive it. Just as nobody can see gravity. But from the effects of objects falling, the principle of gravity is a reasonable inference. So similarly, the idea of an unchanging spiritual is an inference from the material observations. So basically, when we try to, some of you mentioned that when we practice spirituality, we want to find some meaning in our life. We want to find what is enduring. So life is about dualities. Kabhi khushi, kabhi gam. So there is always duality. Happiness and distress. Now, one of the things that we find happening in today's world is that a lot of people overreact. So when there is happiness, we go high up. When there is distress, we go way down. And in this way, we end up being quite temperamental, quite moody. We may see this especially among teenagers. But it is something which is there in everyone. Say, for example, two people, somebody gets a new job, and one day they say, I love this job. This is the best job in the world. And next day, maybe their boss gives them some feedback. And they say, what a terrible job. Why did I take this job? I hate this job. So we have these dualities going on. Or two people come together and they say, I love you. I can't live without you. And next day, some quarrel happens, some misunderstanding happens. I hate you. I can't live with you. And in this way, we just buffeted up and down, up and down. So the world is like an ocean, a bhavasagar. It's an ocean. In the ocean, there will be ups and downs. But if we are in this ocean, if we are here, as the waves will come, they will toss us up and down. However, if we can find an anchor that is large enough and we can hold on to that anchor, then that anchor will ensure that we don't get tossed up and down, that we stay steady. And spirituality offers us that anchor. So the essence of spirituality, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, is that there is a large reality and we are all parts of that reality. So each one of us is a part. Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. That God is not just some being who exists somewhere far away up there in the sky. God is actually all pervading. Of course, He exists far away, but He's within us, He's without us, He's everywhere. And we are parts of that higher reality. And to the extent the part is in harmony with the whole, to that extent the part will be having meaning to its life. The part will be joyful. The part will be having an enriched existence. So there is a ultimate reality, and that is the divine, and we are parts. In fact, we are all parts of something bigger. We are parts of a family, we are parts of a community, we are parts of a country. So all these wholes, as we take them bigger and bigger and bigger, is there an ultimate whole that contains all the other wholes? That ultimate whole is said to be God. That is the ultimate reality. And while there are ways in which the existence of God can be perceived through science, in fact, as science is advancing, we are finding that there is so much order and intricacy in the organization of things that it just very strongly points to the existence of some organizing principle. Now imagine if somebody were playing a game of dice, and what was stake in that game of dice was the person's life. If it falls 6, you live. If it falls anything else, you die. And once somebody toss it, it falls 6. Wow, you're lucky. Second time they played, again it falls 6. Hey, you're living a charmed existence. 5 times you toss it, each time it falls 6. We wonder, hey, does this dice only have 6 on all sides? What is going on? If 50 times you toss the dice and each time it falls 6, that suggests that there is something special going on. So if we look at the universe around us, there are so many dice tosses, any of it went slightly wrong, slightly different, we would not exist. If we look at the way the earth is positioned, if the earth were a little closer to the sun, it would be too hot for us to exist. If the earth were a little further away, it would be too cold for us to exist. If we consider the earth moves on its axis, if the earth were moving a little faster, if a day instead of 24 hours was 16 hours, then the rotation of the earth would be so fast that it would set off storms and tornadoes. And again, life would not be possible. If the earth's axis had not been tilted slightly, then there would not have been the alteration of seasons. And without the alteration of seasons, there would not be growth of vegetation. So, the life as we know it would not exist. If the percentage of oxygen in the atmosphere had been a little more or a little less, things would have been far more complicated. That is one of the fears associated with climate change. It is like this, scientists have found out almost 127 principles. Each of these things have to be exactly what they are. If even a slight variation in any of these, life would not have been possible. So, so many dices have been thrown and each of them have fallen in such a way that the broader whole that we belong to, that broader whole is just suited for our existence. So, it is, as I said, intelligence means to see beyond what glitters to what matters. So if we look at the universe properly, we will see that there is some organizing principle. And that organizing principle, how do we align with it? That's the last part I'll talk. What was the acronym I was going to discuss? Does anyone remember? Yes, a sip of wisdom. So last part is P. So P is purification. Now purification is not just some religious ritual where put some water or put some water to purify themselves or chant some mantras. Yeah, those may be a part of it. But the essence of purification is that it is a process by which what we feel matters. It aligns with what really matters. What we feel matters aligns with what really matters. When we all function in our lives, we function with the idea of something matters. So now if you consider the mismatch between these two, mismatch between what we feel matters and what actually matters, that is a cause of great distress. One of my friends is from Russia, and he was telling me that when he was growing up, there were ads about awareness about alcohol addiction. The main alcohol that is there in Russia is vodka. So there was this ad where a family is watching TV and the news comes that the price of vodka has risen. And then the kid is a little fearfully, timidly asking his father, who is drinking a bottle of vodka. He says, "Dad, will you drink less?" And the father says, "No, you will eat less." So, such a tragic distortion of values. Now we may feel appalled and disgusted to hear this. But we may do it the same thing. We may value money so much that we may neglect our relationships. Many people, they lose their health to gain wealth. And then after 40, 45, 50, they lose their wealth to gain back their health. And then in the end, we lose both our health and our wealth. So often we are driven by an idea of what matters in our life. Somebody may think that the biggest purpose of my life is to get a huge mansion like home. Okay? But in that time, we neglect our relationship, we neglect our health. We neglect our inner growth, our spiritual growth. We may get that big house, but that big house will only provide us a lot of space in which to be lonely and unhappy. So, what matters and what we feel matters, there is a mismatch between the two of them. And purification is what helps us to bring an alignment. Be it greed or be it anger, there are these inner impurities which are talked about. Greed, anger, lust, jealousy. All of them, what they do is, they create a mismatch between what matters and what we feel matters. Now somebody who is jealous, they are very good at counting blessings of others. Oh, this person got this and this person got that and this person got that. And oh, I don't have this. And they become unhappy. Actually, our happiness depends on what we have and what we do with what we have. It doesn't depend on what others have. So basically, purification is the process by which what we feel matters becomes increasingly aligned with what matters. And this brings me, I said spirituality has these two parts, philosophy and practice. So philosophy is understood through intelligence, where we see beyond what glitters to what matters. And practice is what the various practices are what enable us to become purified, to align what we think matters with what really matters. So basically, what the spiritual vision describes to us is that each one of us, as I said, we are parts of God. And because we are parts of God, what it means is we have parts in God's plan. Every one of us is a precious part of the divine. And every one of us has an invaluable part in the divine plan, by which each one of us can do good for ourselves and for the world. So the practice in spirituality is a practice which centers on two things. There is connection internally, the divine, and there is contribution externally through the mood of service. So when we establish this inner connection and the outer contribution, we will find that our satisfaction will increase substantially. So I will talk about one image with which I'll conclude this session. That we all function in the world, and when we function in the world, quite often we do certain things and we expect certain things from the world. By the world we mean people. We may study a lot and we expect that I should come top in my class. We may work in our professional field and we expect that I'll become famous, I'll be recognized as the best employee or the best executive or the best business person. So we expect things to happen in particular ways in the world. We may offer love to someone and we expect that person to reciprocate. But unfortunately, the world doesn't always work like that. If our vision is limited only to this much, I and the world, then what we have will never be enough. What somebody else has that's what we'll be longing for more and more. Like say suppose some colleague, some friend of ours loses their job, then it's easy to feel empathic for them. Things will be all right. But if they get a job better than our job, then I want you to be happy, but not happier than me. There is always this insecurity, this sense of the comparing mentality keeps us constantly insecure and unhappy. So if our vision is focused only on the world, then there is going to be insecurity and eventually a sense of inferiority. And this plagues everyone in today's world. The Gita expands our vision. It says that we are here in this world, but above us is God. And what we have is a gift to us. It is a gift given to us by God. Each one of us may have some talent, some interests, some abilities, and each of these is a gift to us given by God. And what we do with what we have is our gift to God. What we do with what we have, that is our gift to God. In this way, each one of us is given a gift so that we can give a gift to the world and help contribute in the world. So bhakti is about establishing this inner connection where we understand that we are all parts of the divine, that our connection with God is not dependent on anything external. That whether how much fame I have, how much wealth I have, how good are my looks, they don't matter. Each one of us has intrinsic self-worth, because each one of us is a beloved part of the divine. And many of you have children. One of the greatest gifts that any parent can give to a child is to help them realize that they have intrinsic self-worth. The world will define our self-worth only in extrinsic terms. But that propels us on a path of insecurity and inferiority. So each one of us, when we adopt spiritual practices, say we were doing some kirtan over here, we chanted the Hare Krishna mantra. So this is not just a religious ritual. It's a way by which we connect with the divine. When we chant this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It is basically a reminder to ourselves that we are parts of a higher reality. O part, stay in our harmony with the whole. O part, return to harmony with the whole. And that is why such mantra chanting, such prayers, they bring, if we do it diligently, a peace of mind that no amount of wealth can provide. Because this brings us that inner connection. And then, once we have established that inner connection, then each one of us can make an outer contribution. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. He says, you remember me, remember that you are a part of me, remember that you have a plan in my vision for the world. So stay internally connected, stay secure. And then, Arjuna, your particular role in society is that you are a martial guardian of society. So you use your archery skills for fighting. So each one of us, some of you may be professionals, doctors, engineers, professors, homemakers. We all have different roles. But all these roles can be done in a mood of seva, in a mood of service. And when we do this, we will find that the greater our inner connection and the greater our outer contribution, we'll find that a sublime satisfaction will start coming in our life. A satisfaction that no amount of material possession or material position can provide. And that is the ultimate blessing of spirituality. The Bhagavad Gita concludes with an image of Arjuna having raised his bow in readiness to fight. So what happens is, at the start of the Gita, Arjuna is dejected. He's confused, he's dejected. He's put aside his bow. I can't fight. But that same Arjuna, at the end of the Gita, is confident, is energized. He has picked up his bow. So Arjuna's bow represents our determination. Life's struggles and challenges can dishearten even the best of us. We start thinking, is it really worth it? Am I working so hard? People are not appreciating what I'm doing. The world is not recognizing me. Is it really worth it? But when we get this spiritual vision of life, we understand that everything that we do matters. That life, when we live it in a mood of connection and contribution, is something that really matters. Every one of our existence, every one of us, our endeavors matter. And it is that vision that fills our life with meaning and purpose and grants us the ultimate fulfillment. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. We discussed about the relationship between, or broadly, science and spirituality, or broadly, a scientific approach to spirituality. So I talked about a sip of wisdom. The first point was spirituality. So many of you mentioned various aspects of spirituality, and I discussed how spirituality is the study of what matters. That there is a study of matter in which science has excelled, but there's the study of what matters, what is really important in life. And as a part of this study, there are two aspects. Philosophy offers us a postulation of reality. What are the various components of reality and what matters within it? And practice is what enables us. Within practice, there is religion, but practice is what enables us to align ourselves, to verify the philosophy aspect. So philosophy in science is like theory, and experiment that is similar to the practice. And then in the second point, I talked about SIP, intelligence. So this intelligence is associated with the philosophy aspect. So intelligence means we see beyond what glitters to what matters. That there is more to reality than what we perceive. Science has also told us that beyond visible phenomena, there are invisible principles. And it is to the extent we understand those invisible principles, to that extent we can tap great power. Just observing apples fall does not give us any power. But understanding the invisible principle of gravity gives us great power. So similarly, what the Gita tells us is that there is duality in this world. And just being buffeted, tossed up and down by duality will keep us unsteady. But if we can connect with an anchor, then which is far bigger than that duality, then that anchor will bring us steadiness. So how do we connect with that anchor? The Gita explains that there is a larger reality and we are parts. Each one of us is parts of a larger reality. So that there is a larger organizing reality. I talked about the point of the game of dice, that there are more than 100 things which are exactly right for our existence. So the larger reality that we are part of is not just an arbitrary existence. There is an organizing intelligence behind it. And the last part I talked about was P was purification. So this was associated with the practice by which what happens is that what we feel matters becomes more and more aligned with what actually matters, what really matters. Most of the distress in life, like addiction, is an example where the addict thinks that what matters is alcohol, even at the cost of relationships, health, finances, life. Anger means control right now matters more than a steady relationship. But what we feel matters and what really matters. That to extend the two get aligned, we'll find that we will become steadier and happier in our lives. So as long as our vision is just I am here and the world is here, and I will work and I'll get recognition from the world, and this will always keep us with a feeling of insecurity. But if you understand that we are parts of a higher reality, we have been given gifts and we are meant to give gifts, then this inner connection and the outer contribution, these are the dual aspects of spirituality. Through personal spiritual practices like mantra chanting, we establish our inner connection. And through adopting a mood of service in everything that we do in our life, we make outer contribution. And in this way, we will find that our life will become filled with a sublime meaning, with a divine purpose, and with the ultimate fulfillment. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.